So let's just say we've done an initial smart contract audit, and now we run the smart contract and it runs for a while. How often should we be running like security, or to pick up any malicious attacks that might come if somebody points the wrong wallet at the smart contract or whatever it is? Is that something that's important to do ongoing?
You mean like how fast we need to react to the market hacks happening?
Yeah, for example, let's just say a contract's been audited and it's a DeFi protocol contract and now it's running and what have you. Are there automated responses in the contract that would highlight a potential threat or a potential attack to the security team or somebody that's actually should be watching that contract? So if it happened over a weekend, for example, what would happen?
Yeah, like if you're speaking, we can basically take this point out to two perspectives. For example, if you're the owner of the project, right, you can set up the monitoring system for you. Like when I was on the project management spot, like some time ago, every single project of ours has the monitoring system. It means that even if something is wrong, like we get the notifications on Slack or Telegram via our system. Basically, just imagine that you're drinking coffee on Saturday evening and you're just having this alert on your Slack channel, right? That was not the most pleasant experience for Saturday.
I'm sure it wasn't.
You know how to act swiftly. So that's important for every single project. Like it's not only about solidity, because solidity is more difficult to check and to be spotted, but it's more even about front end and back end, I would say. Even if we're speaking about auditing perspective, plenty of companies, including us, are checking overall state of the market. Like we are checking different chains and different activities. For example, if we are checking very large transactions going on, like large amount of coins in percent are moved from this project out or in, like it may be potential hack. So from the very first second, like if, for example, 40% out of liquidity or even 60% out of liquidity is taken out, it means something is not okay. If no official announcement, like you need to dive deeper and check. Sometimes it's difficult to check because it's happening that, we have too little information, but you're always reacting swiftly because what I would say, what's the benefit of blockchain that everything is transferred in public? Like you can go to Etherscan and you can try to check the transaction. Even if you're speaking about hacks, the fact is that plenty of exploits that are happening in the industry, the latest destination point of those funds transferred is always the anonymous place. And like, for example, Tornado Cash. Like such services are pretty good in the industry because they are given the anonymity, I would say, to the customers. But at the same way, such services are given anonymity to the crime. And if you're a hacker, like you're just moving the funds, they are mixed up in the overall pool. And over the time, you'll just get on the another address that is created like from scratch, all the funds that you've stolen. So if you're reacting swiftly, sometimes you can prevent the hack. Sometimes you can just simply observe the hacks and tell like how it happened. But anyways, like if you're finding the hacks and even if you cannot save 100% of the funds, we have the cases that some of the funds at least were saved. That's the first case. Or if the case cannot be saved at the end of the day, like by none of the auditor, like at least we have the lesson, I would say, that should be publicly disclosed, and all of the projects that have similar contracts or similar logic, they will need to think about rechecking it once again. Like bad lesson, still a lesson, right?
Yeah. And so, for example, if you get a notification, let's just say you're the founder of a project or you're a dev team or you're the person actually monitoring that smart contract, and you get a notification in Slack that there's a malicious attack from Tornado Cash, or there's something pointing at that smart contract, are you able to pause that contract and stop it right there so that it doesn't continue running? Or how would somebody, engage with the contract so they can actually slow down that malicious attack, or stop the funds from being drained, and just prevent the massive extent that it could go to. Maybe just limit the extent.
It depends, actually. It depends on the case. Like, for example, if you deploy something to the mainnet, you cannot take it out easily, right? Basically, you cannot operate with this contract in another way. You can just simply redeploy the contracts and point them out to the mainnet environment. Like, if this is kind of hack that needs just a simple, liquidity out function, for example, like taking out the liquidity from the contract and placing it to the new one, and re-linking the new contract to the environment, that means save a day. If, for example, we have the contract that the process is started and it cannot be stopped, like there is no chances to hold it, I would say. Also, there may be chances that due to some logic holes in the contract, some amount, some portions out of the liquidity can be drained over some period of time, right? And like we had the case, for example, that the hacker, like we found the case that the hacker basically could drain like some amount of liquidity, but over some period of time, like today, then the same amount tomorrow, so on and so forth. So that's like better case for the product owners, because they can react, I would say not swiftly, but at least they can react and save larger amount than the whole amount is stolen right away. Because if it's stolen already on somebody's wallet, you can track the wallet arrests. Like we also had like the queries from our partners, like something happened in my project, somebody stole my funds, here's the address. Then we are building the tree, like we automatically tracking the addresses. And if we found the links to some exchanges, for example, right, you can request the identity by the police. Like it's quite a complex procedure, and unfortunately not all countries basically have the regulatory rules, right? So in some of them it may be impossible, but in some countries you may make a complaint to police and they will just start investigation. If you provide them more detail, they can cooperate with some exchanges, whatever, and they can get the identity of that person. But maybe that's like a rare cases, I would say, because in most number of cases, all the addresses that are linked due to the hack, they are just created like right before the hack, and they are anonymous. Like they haven't been connected to any exchanges, no transfers, no liquidity. They were just created for one pure reason, like to get track of those funds, like to to send them from one account to another, up to another cache, or up to the anonymous tools that will not track the final destination.
Yeah, it's there are lots of pitfalls that you have to be aware of when you're putting out a smart contract.